That was significantly messier than I expected it to be. But seriously, there is quite a few things to celebrate this week. First, since our last recording, I had my birthday, which as you become older becomes less of a thing to celebrate. Woo, I'm 28 years old. That's one more year of 100% bowel control, you know. But the thing that's really worth celebrating is VideoGameTimeMachine.com is live and up and hosting articles and videos and cool content from me, Cody, Hosarius, and from you guys. Fans of the show have already contributed articles to the site, and they're pretty goddamn amazing. In fact, the most viewed article on the site is one that's written by a channel subscriber. So we encourage all of you to go check out VideoGameTimeMachine.com. We are all very, very, very proud of it. Seriously, this shit is everywhere now. So I've talked about Savior before, so I'm not going to go and explain the entire backstory of this series. If you want to go ahead and watch the episode where I talked about Savior for the first time so you have more context, go ahead and click on this gravy boat. Listen, the reason I've loved Savior and the reason I've considered it one of the most underread books out there is it's managed to do the impossible. It's been able to intellectually talk about religion and faith and its place in modern society and in the media, and do so without ever being preachy. It's been really unique in its ability to take a polarizing topic and really talk about it in a way that's not going to offend anyone. Now, in issue number 6, Savior takes all the stuff we love about it and just, you know, fucking gets rid of it. Picks it all up with a snow shovel and just throws it in the goddamn garbage. It's really strange how Savior went from such a subtle and smartly delivered book to one that is just so full of soliloquies and lectures and just talking directly at the reader. I mean, literally every new scene is just one character talking to another character about their entire philosophy of life, religion, and space, and God. And none of it really ever has context or depth. It's like being buried in an avalanche of fortune cookie inserts. The book starts off with a news guy talking to this cross-eyed Duck Dynasty dude who's just co-opting a tragedy to fit his own personal strife, and then out of nowhere it bounces to this background extra from Easy Rider here who gives us this completely out of nowhere speech about appreciating life and how luck is not about the outcome, and it's just all so completely tone deaf. Then there's a scene where the guy is killing and resurrecting squirrels with Werther's Originals, and the Santa Claus Pope is talking about religion's place in modern society, and I don't know what happened to the subtle and allegorical book I had been enjoying, but it just disappeared for this issue. And listen, I don't think the book threw out the mission statement from its first 5 issues. Every series is allowed to have a bad issue, and this is very much a bad issue. When you fuck up a book that's talking about something like religion, you're gonna piss a lot of people off. So if this is the beginning of the end of Savior, it will not go quietly into the night. People will notice, and people are not going to be happy. Headlopper number 1. Headlopper is set in a fairly generic fantasy world. The main character of the series is this Santa Conan Conan. Listen, I was trying to do this thing where I was gonna, you know, combine Santa Claus and Conan, like Conan the Barbarian, because, you know, he has a beard like Santa Claus and he's built like Conan, but it didn't really work out, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pull the ripcord and get on out of this joke. Sometimes if I really want to talk about a book but I just can't quite settle on how I'm gonna put things, I'll list the pros and cons. When I sat down and did this for Headlopper, I realized there's not really many places where Headlopper excels, yet for some reason I still absolutely love it. Yet where Headlopper achieves victory is that it absolutely nails all the immeasurables. It is just so full of charm and heart. Its use of fantasy cliches and archetypes kind of lets it skip all of the boring exposition that normally launches fantasy or science fiction books and gets right to the heart of things. The main Headlopper character is just basically a monster slayer, and he drags around with him the head of this blue witch. The head is alive and talks and tries to be the comic relief of the story, and though her humor doesn't really land, to be completely honest, she's about as funny as a marionette of Jimmy Fallon on sleeping pills. But all of Headlopper's shortcomings are excused by the earnestness at which it tells its story. Its kind of cute, innocent art style betrays the fact that this book is completely fucking metal. I mean, check it out, we got giant fire wolves, dragon slaying, pirate blacksmiths, Power tubas. Plain horsies. I've done a shit job at selling this book too. I'm sorry. Because honestly, I just kind of fell in love with this book. And I don't have a whole lot of articulable reasons why. Honestly, I just had a lot of fun reading it. And for all the pontificating I go on about the deeper meaning of books, isn't that why we read comic books? To have fun, and Lopper was the most fun I had this week. So buy Lopper. Oh, yeah, it's pretty expensive, but it's like 86 pages long, so still buy it anyway. Moonstreak kind of houses a lot of the stupid 90s bullshit that I bitch about a lot. We got a lot of robot armor and wrist knives, a lot of shirtless hulked out villains that look like Ninja Turtles rejects, and a lot of sexual objectification, usually taking the form of leather pants over bare ass cheek. Yes, Moonstreak is 90s as hell, but I don't care. It's awesome. And all long-term viewers are freaking out that I'm a fucking hypocrite and I'm contradicting myself. But here, let me explain while Moonstreak is able to get away with a lot of its 90s bullshit. Reason number one, all of its 90s callbacks are purely aesthetic. There's no exploitative plot manipulation and no exploring of shallow, superficial themes. All the 90s callbacks are purely to the dopey, goofy look of everything. And that dopey, goofy look is drawn really, really well. And it actually ends up being less garish than the thing it's trying to give an homage to. Number two, it is completely unironic. It plays everything completely straight and never blinks. Just when you think it's gonna go to a goofy place, like we have this weird DJ Jazzy Jeff looking dude with boom boxes on his shoulders, and then that's followed up by what is an incredibly jarring, violent, and serious scene. Just when you think this book is like trying to do a parody or a mockery or just a shout out to 90s comic books, you realize that it's just using an aesthetic to tell its own story, and that story is not fucking around. Kind of put it in a category of books like Preacher that can kind of go onto goofy tangents, but ultimately stays very thematically grounded. And reason number three, this is very much a grown-up book. Listen, the 90s was sort of bogged down with a lot of adolescent dumbness to it. There's a lot of angst and superficial action, and all the commentary was very surface level. But here, it's actually making some very poignant observations about the way we kind of glorify violence and murderers in our media, and how we kind of turn really bad people into semi-worship celebrities. So hold on a second, does anyone else find it weird that this book is named Moonstreak? I mean, if you take that title off of the super badass looking cover and put it on a more kid-friendly cover, I mean, you could believe that Moonstreak was the name of a My Little Pony, or a Care Bear, or some pastry-based cartoon character. I'm sorry, my ADD caught Tourette's there for a second. Let's get back on point. Moonstreak was a book that I just saw on the Comixology list. It was cheap. I had no idea what it was. I hadn't even really heard of the publisher. It is so completely sound at almost every single level of its execution. This book would be right at home at a bigger publisher like Image. In fact, I think it is so far a lot better than some of the stuff that Image has been putting out recently. So do yourself a favor and kind of track down Moonstreak. So far, it's a lot of fun, and it kind of proved to me that not everything about that era of comic books has to be completely discarded. There's still a lot of value that can be found. You just have to use those things with some grace, and this book definitely has a lot of that. So it's incredible that writer I almost did it again. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked about Scott Snyder on this show and called him Zack Snyder, who is a creator that I like significantly less. So let's get that out of the way. Zack Snyder does not write Batman. Scott Snyder writes Batman. He's also a beautiful man. I love him very much. And he once favorited one of my tweets, which means he acknowledges my existence, which means I'm worth something. Scott Snyder has been a master of sort of sneaking very subtle moments into his story that drastically change the dynamic of who Batman is. He did this at the end of Zero Year when he sort of warped the role that Batman had in Bruce Wayne's personal healing. He did it in Death of the Family when he sort of changed the role that family played both in the creation of Batman and in the relationship that Batman has with his various sidekicks and even his son. And again, in issue number 4, there's a very subtle and quiet moment that drastically changes the fundamentals of who Batman is. And this change comes at the very end of the book, so it's almost impossible to talk about without spoiling, and I don't do that on this show. So suffice to say, Batman realizes that there is a flaw in the way that he has attacked his mission. That being a sword of justice bent on punishing the wicked is not really the best way to fight crime. Now, I personally found this book very, very fascinating. And to give you a little bit of background why, my bachelor's degree is in criminal justice, so I spent a lot of time studying different forms of policing. And this book is really kind of all about the state of modern policing and the flaws that are found in it, and Batman sort of acts as an allegory for policing throughout, and the flaws in the way that he conducts himself is kind of the same flaws that we see in the modern and publicized face of police work. Again, I'm being a bit vague and pretentious, just in an attempt not to spoil this issue. Even if you haven't been reading Batman up to this point, issue number 44 is a must-buy for all comic book fans. It largely stands alone from the rest of the ongoing Batman plot. It even has a guest artist coming in, Jacques, and I love Jacques' work. And it's approachable to everyone who even has a cursory understanding of how Batman works. Characters like Batman are very much entrenched in our pop culture. They're kind of hard to manipulate. And it's really fascinating to see a creator take a completely different approach to the philosophy of telling the Batman story. To do it while simultaneously being very relevant to current ongoings in our society, it's really a masterwork. Jokes aside, this is something that you all have to read as adults and as people who kind of care about the state of our world. I'm not kidding. This is perhaps the best single issue of the year, and it's definitely the one I'm going to recommend harder than anyone else. So check it out, and please, in the comments below, let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think it's trying to say. So I have to go and clean the tremendous amount of confetti that is currently covering my barracks room right now. So I'll see you guys later. So again, I'm going to say this every week until our roster is completely full, but if you are interested in writing about comic books, video games, or movies, and you are looking for a platform to do it on, we got that. So if you want to be a contributor to videogametimemachine.com, go ahead and email us at videogame.tm@gmail.com. And Cody is very angry at me right now because we actually have an email that's attached to the website, but I forgot what that is, so I'll put it in the description below. You can email that one too. And if you're not interested in contributing, make sure you at least go and check it out. Read all the great content that me and everyone else is putting on the site. Specifically, check out Levi's article about all the cool stuff that's coming out this week. And check out both my long-form review of Batman 44 and my short summarized bullet review of every single book that came out this week. At least every book that I read, which was a lot of money. Anyway, stay up to date with everything on Video Game Time Machine by following us on Facebook and on Twitter. Also, to remind you again, make sure you subscribe. For every subscriber you get, I will donate $1 to the National Cleanup Confetti Fund. Make sure you guys are coming back next Sunday and every Sunday to the end of time for the episode of The Pull. Now get out of here and go read comics.